1924 marked the year when Capablanca and Alekhine faced each other again, this time in one of the strongest tournaments ever organized up to that point, New York 1924. Alekhine took advantage of the trip to the Americas not only to play in the event but also to stay in touch with potential sponsors, give simultaneous exhibitions, and raise his profile. At the end of 1923, he met with Hermann Helms from the New York Times, Norbert Lederer of the Manhattan Chess Club, and Harry Letts, owner of the Alamag Hotel and the chess patron, to discuss a potential world championship match against Capablanca. Once they realized the difficulties, especially financial ones, of organizing such a match, the idea shifted. Instead of a world championship match, they decided to organize a super tournament featuring the world's top players, and so the New York 1924 tournament was born. If you've ever heard of New York 1924, it was probably from a book by Alekhine. And descriptions like this one is what I love about Capablanca and Alekhine. Luis Fernández Siles has managed to write a really interesting historical overview of, to be as broad as possible, chess on its highest level in the at the beginning of the 20th century. And of course, today it's very easy to discuss, Hans Niemann and Magnus Carlsen and Ding Liren's escape from the chess world and whether Gukesh is a worthy world champion and stuff like that. But events from the 1920s are very hard to follow. So any book that does that well is, in my opinion, incredibly valuable. Capablanca and Alekhine is a project that started as an article. It wasn't supposed to be a book, but ended up being one of my favorite chess histories. I've had the privilege to interview the author, Luis Fernández Siles, but since the interview was in Spanish and I don't speak Spanish, you will get to hear his thoughts and my questions separately. So now let's talk about the book. In short, this is a book that describes the rivalry between Capablanca and Alekhine. That's its main focus. But in my opinion, it's also a book on general chess history, however, through the lens of the most successful players at the time. Of course, in the 1910s, 20s, 30s, no one could even come close to them. And Capablanca was, of course, a kid genius who had incredible success as a child back in Cuba. And then when he came to Europe, he just stormed the continent. And Alekhine was the only guy holding the fort, well, until Botvinnik came in a bit later. But Botvinnik came in when both Alekhine and Capablanca were already declining in strength and significance. I would put it that way. So the book is divided into 16 chapters, and each chapter covers one period of the players' lives and one period in the chess history. It begins with St. Petersburg 1913, which is the first time that they'd played each other over the board. And the first game in the book is a game I know well. It's a Semislav, and I studied it about 7 years ago for the first time. When I was reading the book, I was actually comparing my notes. Then it moves on to other very significant tournaments they both played in. It goes over their games, and the tournaments include St. Petersburg 1914, London 22, New York 24 and 27, Buenos Aires 27, and then you also get Nottingham 36, which is, of course, one of the strongest tournaments held in the first half of the 20th century, if not the strongest one. Let me just read you a part I really liked from the introduction to that tournament. Each tournament and each event is accompanied by photos of players at the time, and to me, that's a very good part of the book because it creates a sort of warm feeling before you go into battle. I'm going to use my Lord of the Rings reference again, or my Name of the Wind reference again. If you've read Name of the Wind, which is my favorite book, or The Lord of the Rings, and if you're a fan, you will know that before Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin leave for Bree, there's this very warm, quaint feeling of them being in the Shire, of them, being safe, and sort of having, sort of, if you were playing a game, it would be like save game or return to the inn. If you play D&D, it's the same feeling you get when you're at a tavern before you embark on an adventure, or in the middle of one when you get a long rest somewhere safe. That's what I get from the beginning of each chapter, the beginning of each covering of a major tournament. So for Nottingham 36, you get to see all the players. Then you get to hear stuff like this. This event became one of the great chess moments of the 20th century and marked the long-awaited fight over the board between Alekhine and Capablanca. Relations between them had broken down, and the Cuban, tired of being denied a rematch by his eternal rival and of being excluded for years from the top tournaments, no longer even greeted him. As we'll see, although they hadn't played a single game since the World Championship in Buenos Aires, they had recently crossed paths at a tournament in Czechoslovakia, which Capablanca attended as a spectator. And then Luis goes on to describe the meeting between Olga, who was Capablanca's second wife, and Alekhine. You can then see the cross table for the tournament. You can hear anecdotes from before the tournament and during the rounds. So here's one I really like. According to Savili Tartakower himself, the night before the first round, the Dutch ship had sunk in the Thames during a terrible storm with no survivors. I'm smiling. It's not something to smile about. Everyone believed that Tartakower had been on board, but as there was no official confirmation of his death, the arbiter started the clock for his game against Capablanca. After a few minutes, Tartakower had not shown up, and everyone took it as a confirmation of the tragedy. From now, we will miss Tartakower's coffee house style, one of the participants reportedly said. In fact, the Polish master had taken a different route that had been recommended to him, which involved several train changes before reaching Nottingham. That's why he was late, but alive. So the historical part is great, and it's well, I've read many chess books, but you seldom get descriptions interestingly written and covering the time they describe so well and giving you an in-depth context for the games. Then, of course, the main body of the book are the games themselves. And Luis has covered, of course, each encounter between Capablanca and Alekhine, because that's the main premise of the book. But there are also other games included. And each game is of some significance, either historical or chess-wise. He explains several parts of their games as being important, such as Capablanca's endgames. From a chess perspective, the game is valuable. The book is valuable, and unless you're a well-read chess player, you will find many games you haven't seen before. Personally, I don't know all the games by heart, but I have looked at all of them at least once. Being interested in chess and, having read New York 24 and stuff like that, I was already acquainted with them. That being said, that does not take away from the value of the book. It's not a game collection, and it's not a biography or a historical book. It's all three. Now, as for the annotations, which are the most important part of each chess book, I want to say that they are very simple to follow. First of all, Luis goes over the main lines. There are hardly any variations, except if they were, very important. So the book is very easy to read without a chessboard. The only downside, is my opinion, is the detail level when it comes to the annotations. But I can count on fingers of one hand the books that have lived up to my expectations when it comes to annotations. And again, this isn't a game collection, nor is it a workbook or a textbook, so that's fine. The annotations that are there are good, simple to follow, and explain things easily, sometimes even including the notes by the players themselves, and of course, interesting tidbits of information for that game. I think it's a great book. I think it's an easy read. You can, literally read it in bed before you go to sleep. It's interesting, and it covers an important period of chess history in a way that hasn't been done before. I honestly hope that Lewis publishes more books, because this one was great. Now we will hear his thoughts on the book, and he will cover the most important questions you probably have. Yeah, let's listen to the author himself.
En el prólogo ya cuento algo de cómo surgió el libro. Como dato curioso, cuando empecé a escribir sobre Capablanca y Alekhine no tenía la idea de que se iba a convertir en un libro. El proyecto era escribir un artículo sobre la rivalidad y la enemistad, sobre todo de Capablanca y Alekhine, porque era algo que yo mismo no entendía de dónde venía. Había algunas pistas, tenía algunas pistas, pero no tenía nada claro de dónde venía esa enemistad, porque en otros casos hay ciertas rivalidades en la historia del ajedrez, como Fischer, Spassky, Karpov-Korchnoi, Karpov-Kasparov, donde está claro que hay un trasfondo político muy importante, pero algo que no existía en esta rivalidad y sobre todo en esta enemistad. Así que ahí fue cuando empecé a escribir un artículo, se fue alargando, me di cuenta de que eso ya era demasiado largo para ser un artículo, pensé en convertirlo en un capítulo para un libro, ahí ya sí surgió la idea de un libro, pensé que podría ser un capítulo de un libro, pero siguió siendo cada vez más extenso, más extenso, hasta convertirse en el libro que he publicado. ¿Cuánto tardé en escribirlo? Bueno, hay una parte importante a la hora de escribir un libro como este, que es el trabajo que no consiste en escribir, sino consiste en buscar información. Es un trabajo de hemeroteca, es un trabajo de leer mucho, de buscar qué es lo que se ha escrito, qué han dicho otros biógrafos, otros escritores de ajedrez. Y ese es un trabajo, una tarea que en realidad se le dedica más tiempo a eso que al hecho de escribir. Pero en total creo que han sido un poco más de 2 años el tiempo que me ha llevado desde el primer momento que comencé con este proyecto hasta que se ha publicado. Sí, bueno, el proceso de investigación, de búsqueda de información ha sido bastante largo. Para ello he recurrido a una amplia bibliografía, he consultado muchas fuentes, no solo, y creo que este es un punto interesante del libro, no solamente los libros dedicados especialmente a Capablanca o Alekhine, sus biografías o libros donde son los protagonistas, sino he buscado mucho en biografías de sus contemporáneos, donde aparecen. Entonces muchas veces ahí hay otras historias, otras anécdotas y otras cuestiones importantes que aparecen en el libro y que a lo mejor no aparecen en otros libros especializados en Capablanca y Alekhine, porque incluso algunos datos y algunas historias que cuento en el libro son de libros, pertenecen o los he leído yo en otros libros más modernos, ¿no? Así que bueno, he hecho un trabajo de leer mucho, de investigar todo lo que pueda y de tratar de sacar lo mejor que encontraba en todas esas lecturas relacionado con Capablanca y Alekhine para poner orden y para poder mostrarlo de una manera agradable al lector. Creo que hay dos tipos de público que pueden disfrutar bastante del libro. Por un lado, los aficionados a la historia del ajedrez, porque hay mucha información, muchas historias, muchas anécdotas. He realizado una búsqueda bastante grande, he consultado muchas fuentes y por lo tanto creo que al amante de la historia del ajedrez le puede gustar el libro. Hay mucho texto histórico en el libro. Y por otra parte, al interesado en mejorar en ajedrez, al que quiera estudiar partidas clásicas, que siempre se dice que el estudio de las partidas clásicas es muy importante en ajedrez, bueno, pues este libro contiene bastantes partidas clásicas comentadas y he intentado que los comentarios sean instructivos, sean buenos para el jugador que quiere progresar, para el lector que se considera también un estudiante y que tenga ese material. No he puesto demasiadas variantes, he intentado evitar largos análisis de variantes, porque entiendo que hoy en día cualquiera con un módulo de análisis puede profundizar bastante en cualquier partida. Y el último módulo de análisis va a ser el mejor, el que mejor haga ese trabajo siempre. Pero he procurado que los comentarios que se aportan en la partida, los comentarios que escribo, mis anotaciones, sean sobre todo de texto, expliquen planes, expliquen maniobras y por lo tanto puedan ayudar al jugador que quiera progresar con esa información, con ese valor estratégico que intento aportar en ella. El contexto histórico es la primera mitad del siglo XX, lo cual incluye la Revolución Rusa, la Primera Guerra Mundial, la Segunda Guerra Mundial, momentos históricos de la máxima importancia que no afectaron de la misma manera a nuestros dos protagonistas. Porque, claro, Capablanca veía las cosas desde el otro lado del Atlántico, ¿no? No era lo mismo, no lo vivía de la misma manera Alekhine, que la Revolución Rusa le cambió la vida totalmente a su familia y a él. Y bueno, y por supuesto la Primera Guerra Mundial, la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Bueno, la Segunda Guerra Mundial en realidad comenzó cuando él estaba en el Torneo de Naciones de 1939, pero Alekhine rápidamente volvió a Francia, volvió a Europa. O sea que la guerra tuvieron más influencia, por supuesto, en Alekhine que en Capablanca. Pero el contexto histórico pues son esos torneos de principios del siglo XX, aparecen torneos como San Petersburgo 1913, que no es tan conocido como San Petersburgo 1914, Mannheim, que está jugando Alekhine, Mannheim en 1914, cuando comienza la Primera Guerra Mundial. Bueno, por supuesto, el match de Capablanca con Lasker, Londres 1922, torneo muy importante que allí se acabaron aceptando que se conocieron como las reglas de Londres que propuso Capablanca, que tienen mucha importancia en el libro, por cierto, y en la posible enemistad de Capablanca y Alekhine. Pero bueno, hay muchos torneos de Nueva York 1924, 1927, el campeonato del mundo, por supuesto, que juegan en 1927 Capablanca y Alekhine en Buenos Aires. Es una parte muy importante del libro y toda la época que viene después del campeonato del mundo, una vez que Alekhine es campeón del mundo y se niega a darle la revancha a Capablanca. Pues bueno, cómo van sus vidas, los torneos que juegan, sobre todo los torneos donde coinciden, eso es especialmente importante. Los torneos en donde se ven las caras son los que más atención se le pone en el libro y bueno, el libro acaba con la muerte de los protagonistas. Pero exploro las razones, las posibles razones para esa enemistad, para esa rivalidad tan importante y analizo, muestro esas partidas que forman parte de los clásicos del ajedrez. Sí, una parte fundamental del libro son las partidas comentadas, ¿no? Normalmente los libros de historia, muchos, no todos, por supuesto, pero una mayoría de libros sobre historia del ajedrez contienen partidas, pero no están demasiado comentadas, no se profundiza mucho en los comentarios, porque en muchos casos al autor lo que más le interesa es la parte histórica, y probablemente al lector también, al lector que compra esos libros también, ¿no? Y los libros, por ejemplo, de colecciones de partidas, pues profundizan más en los comentarios, en las partidas, y las anotaciones del contexto histórico pues son más breves, están menos documentadas, y sobre todo el autor le da importancia a las partidas. Entonces yo he intentado que sea 50% por alguna manera, o de algún modo que esté lo más equilibrado posible. Y las partidas están anotadas, bueno, están anotadas con mucho texto, con mucha explicación en palabras, para que se puedan aprender planes, ideas y no tanto que el lector se pierda en muchas variantes.
Thank you for watching. I hope you got something from the interview and from my review of the book of Capablanca Alekhine. If you like chess histories, if you like chess biographies, if you like game collections, and those three are my favorite uh, categories of chess books because they are easy to read and they again create this feeling of warmth I'm looking for in a book. Definitely get Capablanca Alekhine. Another thing I would like to mention: the book is incredibly well designed, and perhaps more people should publish their books independently because both the cover design and the actual design of the book and how easy it is to follow and read everything is definitely superior to the design some publishers put out for the majority of their books. So yeah, I think when you hold this hardcover book in your hands, you feel like it's not a chess book at all. It feels like more than a chess book if you've held many chess books in your hands. So a great book. There is a full review I've written for Chessreads below. Read that if you'd like. And we began introducing guest reviews on Chessreads. So if there's a chess book you would like to review, whether it's already on Chessreads or if it's already been reviewed on Chessreads, it doesn't matter. You can review the book yourself. So Chessreads is going to become a community platform where we have multiple reviewers for each book, where you get the added value of hearing multiple opinions of players of different strengths. So the end goal is to have, Capablanca and Alekhine or Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual reviewed by a 1200 rated player and a 2500 rated player. So if you would like to do that, contact us on Discord, on Twitter, or via email. There are ways to do that. Again, thank you for watching. I will see you next Saturday at 3 p.m. Central European Time with the next book. Stay tuned for more chess. Bye-bye.